Hey, do you ever have trouble following through on a calling that God has put on you? You know that you're supposed to do something, but it just seems too weird. Like you get this urge one day to call up a friend out of the blue and you haven't seen him or heard from him in months or years even. And all of a sudden you feel like you're supposed to call them and you don't know why, but you follow through on it, even though you're like, this is really weird, and they're going to think I'm a goofball. And you call, and that person says, you are just the person I needed to talk to. Your wisdom and your insight into what I'm going through right now is exactly what I need to hear. Or maybe you're thinking about going into a job, but there's this feeling like I shouldn't go there. I should do this instead. I should work with underprivileged youth. I should work at an elderly care facility. I should work in a prison. I should work with the addicted. And you're like, I don't know anything about any of those things. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I don't think I'm going to do it. But for some reason, you just keep feeling that that's where you're supposed to go. And, listen, God does funny things, right? And Jesus, before he calls his 12 disciples together, he's just starting his ministry and he's preaching down at the Sea of Galilee one day. And there's so many people, they're crowding against him and they're actually forcing him into the sea. And there's a boat sitting there and he says, hey man, can I use your boat to preach? And the guy's like, sure. And the guy is Simon, who turns into Peter, right? And so Jesus preaches from the boat and the people are amazed. And as he's sitting there, Peter's listening to the whole thing. He says, when he's done, he says, Peter, hey man, why don't you get in the boat and go out into the deep water and put your nets down? And Peter's like, that's the worst idea I've ever heard. Right? He says, Jesus, I've been out fishing all night and we didn't catch anything. That's a horrible idea because we usually go fishing at night. That's when the fish are out, not during the day. But because it's you, Jesus, I'm going to do it. And so Peter gets in the boat and his brother Andrew hops in and they go out to the deep water and they throw their nets down and immediately the nets are filled with fish. There's so many that they start yelling into shore to their buddies who are their business partners, James and John. Hey man, get out here, bring your boat out. And they bring their boat out and both boats are so full with fish they start to sink. And they get back in and Peter falls on his face and he's like, Jesus, I am a sinful man. I don't even deserve to be in your presence. Man, I wasn't even going to listen to you, but I am so glad I did. And Jesus said, listen, I'm going to tell you what. You think that was cool? What's going to happen next is I'm going to make you fishers of men. You see, and that's the thing about Jesus, right? If we follow where he leads us, it may be uncomfortable. It may be weird. It might be something that we're not equipped to do. But guess what? If we follow through with where he sends us, he can do amazing things through ordinary people. May God continue to pour out his grace, mercy, and blessings on each and every one of us until we get to meet again. Amen. Amen.